will there ever be any accountability for MBS, for Saudi Arabia, when it comes to the death of Jamal Khashoggi, or for that matter, for the people of Yemen? Joining me now, Lina Al-Hathlul, Head of Monitoring and Communications at ALQST for Human Rights. Her sister is Saudi activist Lujayna Al-Hathlul, who'd been imprisoned in Saudi Arabia for 3 years and still can't leave the country. Also here is Abdullah Al-Awda, Research Director for the Gulf at the think tank Dawn, Democracy for the Arab World Now, which is a party to that US lawsuit against MBS. His father is Saudi cleric Salman Al-Awda, who is currently imprisoned in the kingdom. Lina and Abdullah are two of the co-authors of the recent Washington Post op-ed headlined, Biden is mending ties with our oppressors. He should listen to us instead. Thank you both for coming back on the show. Lina, 4 years later, justice for Jamal seems like a pipe dream. The Saudis have done really nothing substantive to atone for that gruesome crime. I mean, we don't even know where Jamal's remains are to this very day.
So, yes, we're 4 years later, and Jamal still doesn't have any, we didn't seek any justice, and this is the case for everything that is happening in Saudi Arabia, actually. And what we're seeing is that, since Mohammed bin Salman saw that he can get away with murder, literally, he has, doubled down on repression in the country. And we've seen it in so many other cases. I mean, my sister was tortured in prison. When she got released, she tried to seek justice, and they said that she wasn't tortured, and that no one will be held responsible anyway. Sorry. Problem.
That's true. Basically 4 years later, the accountability for Jamal murder is still missing. We have seen how the report of the ODNI point finger to MBS himself. Saudi officials, we have seen Saud al-Qahtani has been exonerated, Ahmed Asiri has been exonerated, and Mohammed bin Salman himself, who is responsible personally for the operation, who actually ordered the operation according to the ordinary.
So, Abdullah, were you surprised then to see the US Secretary of State not naming the Saudis or MBS in his tweet on Sunday?
No, I'm actually not surprised, because I have seen Secretary Blinken himself fist bumping MBS when he was in Jeddah, along with President Biden. Since that infamous fist bump that Blinken himself did, this comes to no surprise. We have seen how the U.S. administration under President Biden and Secretary Blinken actually shielded MBS by not providing adequate accountability for the Khashoggi murder. This is something that the U.S. can done, but they chose not to.
Lina, what have your own conversations been like with Blinken, with the State Department, with this administration when it comes to your own family members stuck back in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think what's important to see is the consequences after that and what the situation is on the ground now. We've been promised a lot. They promised to talk to the Saudis about our families, to talk about the situation on the ground. And what we see is that nothing changed. And even worse than this, people are getting arrested for retweeting me, actually. I mean, Salman Shihab was sentenced to 34 years for retweeting me in a tweet where I'm calling for the release of my sister. My family is still on a travel ban. My sister is still on a travel ban. She's not allowed to talk to journalists. So what the conversations were great, and we've been listened to, but at the end of the day, nothing has changed. Yes. So it is the important thing to know.
Abdullah, how is your father doing in prison in Saudi Arabia right now? He's been behind bars since 2018, right, for the crime of not tweeting in support of MBS's foreign policy.
Yes, since actually September 2017. He has been in solitary confinement the whole time. He has been mistreated, tortured. He lost half of his vision and half of his hearing, according to the prison doctor. The visitations has been really, really difficult. The phone conversations has been totally stopped. They have been harassing the family. 19 members of my family are banned from traveling. I've been harassed abroad. So it is the situation under MBS, and it has escalated actually after the Biden's visit.
Lina, this is an administration which came to office promising accountability for Khashoggi's murder, promising, in Joe Biden's words, to make Saudi Arabia a pariah on the international stage, and yet just last year approved a $650 million arms sale to the Saudis. This summer approved more arms sales. How disappointed are you in this administration when it comes to the issue of Saudi Arabia?
Well, we're, of course, extremely disappointed, but this is not the question. It's about, what's important is what the consequences of this will be. And it's, again, I will repeat this over and over again, is that, rehabilitating MBS is not only bad for the people inside the country, it will, destabilize the whole region. We saw it with Yemen, we saw it with Qatar, and now also, with MBS putting spies in Twitter. So he has a long arm on US soil. So again, we are disappointed, but, it's something that's, is not about Saudi citizens only. It should be disappointing to the whole world, actually.
And Abdullah, the administration is now saying in court here in the US that MBS, who made himself Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia last week, may be entitled to sovereign immunity as a head of government now in the civil case that is currently making its way through the US courts, which I believe your group, Dawn, is a party to, which is all about MBS's alleged role in the murder of Khashoggi.
Well, actually, when the court knows that he only made this change to shield himself from accountability, from the repercussions of the actions that he did, this should change the argument. And the other argument is that the king is still present. I think one of the arguments that our lawyers are going to present in court is that he is still the crown prince. The king is, the basic law of governance, Article 56 still applies. They did not change it. They just made an exception to it. And it's still there, still effective, that says the king still is the ultimate power. Article 44 of the Saudi basic law of governance also says that the king is the ultimate arbiter. And also, other articles that points to the sources of legislation in Saudi Arabia, and that the king is the ultimate source of all legislation. This should be a ground to challenge any illegal immunity argument in U.S. courts.